I didn't care about boxing, I didn't care about living, I just wanted to die. And I was going to have a good time doing it while I was doing it.
I'm back, return of the Mac. The Mac is back, the lineal champion. Bring them all on!
What a roller coaster from world heavyweight champion to rock bottom and back up again. Tyson Fury's incredible journey makes him boxing's biggest name right now, not to mention all the skill. We're going to be talking with one of his mates about how he overcame depression and is now fighting to regain the title. We'll also be looking at his traveller heritage. He calls himself the Gypsy King. And how does he compare to the greatest of all time? Is he up there with Ali, Foreman and Frazier? One day, maybe. But first, let's start the programme with round one. And it's Fury versus Fury.
You fought the Americans, you fought the Mexicans, you fought the Europeans, but you ain't never fought the Gypsy King before.
I don't care about going down in history, I don't care about being a role model, and I couldn't give a what anybody thinks about me.
From the United Kingdom,
He's done it! There is a new era in heavyweight boxing!
Well, this year's show has attracted the usual array of stars, but it's also attracted controversy over the inclusion of one of British sport's most polarising figures.
You've said things in the past which people have found abhorrent. They've accused you of misogyny, they've accused you of homophobia.
No comment, don't even go there.
anti-Semitism.
I think it stems from the fact that I quoted some quotes out of the Bible that I didn't write, clearly, because I didn't write the Bible.
Are you concerned that Manchester Police are investigating you for hate crime?
All praise be to Jesus Christ. If you want to know about any more of my opinions, consult Pope Rome, because he has the same opinions.
Peace out. It's after the watershed. You
it.
cannot be a dickhead and win Sports Personality of the Year.
Thank you, Clive.
One man who's getting a lot of time off, Tyson Fury, he's given up his belt, he's now suspended. Surely it is the end of the road.
I thought that you were done. You talked about spiraling into depression, drug abuse.
Yeah.
You were obese.
I'd suffered with mental health problems my whole life. I didn't care about boxing, I didn't care about living, I just wanted to die. And I was going to have a good time doing it.
You know, when you're on top of the world, everybody wants to be your friend and everybody wants to give you stuff for free and everybody wants to be around you. But you know, when I was down, dark and depressed and out of everything, and I was on the verge of suicide, where are all those people then?
I give up on life.
Here in Las Vegas, the fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury is the blockbuster boost the heavyweight division needs.
oh, and down he goes! Right hand, left hand, and I don't think he's going to get up. I think it's all over. I think it's over. Is he going to get up? Can he get up? Can he get up? He does. Can you continue? Oh my goodness!
The second knockdown was preposterous. So the fact that he rose like Lazarus, I mean, it was crazy.
I still had him winning that fight.
Should it have been scored a draw?
No. Tyson Fury won the fight.
I just showed the world tonight, everyone suffering with mental health, that you can come back and it can be done. Everybody out there who has the same problems that I've been suffering with, I did that for you guys.
That is Tyson Fury's so far, quite concisely put. And discuss it, we have a great panel of boxing guests for you, including the former IBF Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Glen McCrory, who's also a friend of Tyson's. We're also joined by Jimmy Sweeney. Like Tyson, he's from the traveller community, and he's got boxing in his blood, a bare-knuckle champion, in fact. And finally, Adi Olapido is a boxing commentator and a regular contributor to Fox Sports. Adi, I'd like to start with you. Just for our viewers who are no experts on boxing, why are we talking about a man who doesn't actually have a belt to his name?
He maybe doesn't have a belt, but he is the man. So, you know, he's the lineal champion. He's the man that beat the man, and that man was Vladimir Klitschko. He won all those belts. He didn't lose them in the ring. They were taken from him. He had that hiatus from boxing. He's come back. He beat, I think, Deontay Wilder for that WBC belt. So, yes, he doesn't have a belt around his waist, but I think we all know he is the #1 heavyweight on the planet. If Tyson Fury was to fight any other heavyweight, I'd put all my money on Tyson Fury. And just aside from his boxing, I think, you know, he's a personality as well. I mean, boxing's full of people that don't have personalities. Tyson Fury is almost a throwback to the Muhammad Ali days of guys that were showmanship, guys that were out there and outspoken. He ticks all those boxes.
And physically, he has something in common, actually, in terms of his ability to slip the shots and to box. He doesn't have that big knockout punch, but he hits you multiple times. I wanted to ask you, in your entire career, have you ever seen anybody climb to the heights that he did, beat Vladimir Klitschko, and then just walk away from the sport in this way?
Not the way he's done it. I mean, you see a lot of boxers maybe lose. You think of people like Prince Nassim Hamed that had that fight against Marco Antonio Barrera, lost that. He had one more fight, then called it a day. But no one the way Tyson Fury's done it. I mean, he hit the heights that he wanted to hit. He became world champion and then decided enough was enough. But I think it's a story after now, the comeback story that everyone should talk about.
Yeah, let's get into that.
And the way it's kind of gone up and down has been amazing.
It has been. Glenn, we're going to come to you now. I want to ask you about that. There was a very good reason, of course, why he walked away from the sport. He had suffered greatly with his mental health. Just tell us about that.
Well, I think obviously mental health, talking to Tyson, mental health has been a problem for him through a large part of his life. And I mean, that is something that can affect anybody and does affect a lot of people. But then he had, a great career where on one side everything is going well for him. He's become the champion of the world. He's got great success. He's got money. To some, he had some fame and adulation, but to others, he also started to annoy people, and there was a bit of dislike when he won the title. People took some of the things he said in a very negative way, and Tyson is a bit controversial. He's very tongue-in-cheek, and that's about his personality, and I think he didn't expect. For me, I think one of the problems arise because he didn't expect people to go against him, the general public, to turn on him when he pulled off such a wonderful victory. I mean, the Sports Personality of the Year, Tyson was, he didn't win it, which he should have won it because it was one of the best wins by a Brit ever, beating Vladimir Klitschko. But not only did he not win it, he was kind of ridiculed at the event as well. And I think that really got to the man, and whether he admits to that or not, I really think that was a big problem. The fact that he wasn't expecting what he thought was the boxing world to turn on him. And he fell out of love with the game, as you would.
Adi, you've interviewed him 3 times. He's a big man, 6'9", and still quite a sensitive person. He took that to heart.
Yeah, he did. It's weird when I look at Tyson Fury. I mean, you compare it to someone like an Anthony Joshua, for example. Anthony Joshua beat Vladimir Klitschko, and that was it. I mean, everyone loved him. He became the man of British boxing. Tyson Fury done it away from home, and like Glenn's saying, he didn't really get the adulation. No pats on the back. I think a lot of people really didn't understand his personality. I think we're starting to see it now and love it now, but maybe we quite didn't understand it back then. And I think that was a problem for him. And that kind of drove him to the drink. That drove him to all the problems that he had.
Jimmy, when you were watching how your fellow traveller, if you like, was being treated, even though he'd won the heavyweight championship of the world, do you think he was fairly treated or unfairly treated?
I don't know. I'm not going to really say it's down to him being a traveller, right? But I think that there's a lot of, even though we do very well, even though I'm doing very well, we still get a lot of negativity just because we're travellers. So I think with everyone kind of going against him, that really hit him hard. So he thought he was like everyone's favourite, the people's champion, but he's done so much and he's got to a massive level. So when you get to that level and then you're still not the people's champion, you're still, everyone seems to be going against you, that could really hit you hard.
Adi, do you think he's the people's champion now? I've heard him say that he realises now that this great victory and talent that he has is going to be his vehicle to champion mental health.
He is the people's champion. I think what he's done with talking about mental health has helped as well. I think a lot of people suffer in silence, so he might not have ticked all the boxes in terms of becoming a people's champion when it comes to boxing, but in terms of how he's championing mental health and depression and anxiety, I think he's kind of won around a lot of people. Yeah. He's made a lot of new fans. And so he's definitely the people's champion, 100%.
You're right, and one of the things that he says lifted him from the canvas, literally and metaphorically, is his firm Christian belief. He says a prayer before every fight. He's also respectful of his Muslim team members. Let's have a listen.
Heavenly Father, I come to you in the mighty name of Jesus. give both men strength tonight, give both men the power to give their best performances, and let both men come out the ring safely.
Ya Allah, the main thing is we keep us all healthy, keep Tyson safe. Alhamdulillah for the great training camp, great shape, everything's been perfect. All we ask you is for give us the victory, and we give you all the glory. Ameen.
Amen.
Well, there you go. His Christian beliefs are clearly part of his identity. So too is being a traveller, or as he sometimes calls himself, the Gypsy King.
His nickname's the Gypsy King. I didn't nickname him. Is that an issue? As
No,
far
it's
as
no issue.
If
If it was an issue, I wouldn't have it on my
well,
king,
I don't,
would I?
maybe just embrace. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't. But
It's only people being silly, because a lot of people today don't want to be what they are.
Yeah.
They want to change what they are. But I don't. I embrace it. I wear it on my chest. Here's what it is.
I
I'm
feel
the
like
Gypsy
gypsies
King.
are more embraced in America than they are where you're from. Where you're from, it's kind of a negative connotation, right? Out here, it's
It
all
can
good.
be, but yeah, I think you got to take people as you find them, like everybody as individuals, because go everywhere and find different types of people who are nasty people.
Yeah.
And you can find kind people everywhere too.
Well, let's go back to Jimmy Sweeney now. Jimmy, just explain for our international audience what defines the traveller community.
It's just we're close. We're a very close-knit community. We're Irish travellers. The Gypsies, well, it's a culture we have. The Gypsies and travellers, even though people put us down as the same, we're actually two different cultures. I'm an Irish traveller. I come from Ireland. All travellers come from Ireland. Whereas Gypsies originated from India. So it's even though we're very similar, we're two different cultures.
And is Tyson Fury regarded as a hero in your community?
Yeah, he's regarded as a hero in our community, and he's regarded as someone that the kids, everyone looks up to. As myself, even Billy Joe Saunders, like they give a lot of hope to travellers in what they've done with their lives and what they've achieved. Unfortunately for travellers, when they get to an age of marriage, that's at 18 years of age, they stop boxing, and we've probably lost a lot of possible world champions to that. But now everyone is looking at Tyson and thinking, well, he's made it. He's also married and he's world champion. So we could do that. And we've a lot more travellers now that's sticking to boxing, whereas before, as soon as they get married, they'd stop it.
Yeah. So he's considered not some sort of celebrity sellout. He's the real deal.
Yeah, he's definitely the real deal for us, and he still goes with his beliefs, and he's still the Gypsy King, and he's given more credit to the travellers, so he's definitely the real deal for us.
Now, he's, like you say, a traditional boxer. He wears the gloves. If he were to enter into your sport, bare-knuckle boxing, how would he fare?
I don't think he'd even get a fight if he joined our sport, man. He's too big, too strong, too good.
Let me ask you about fighting and the traveller culture. Why is it so important, this honour, if you like?
Yeah, it's all pride. Unfortunately, throughout the years, it's all like pride and family pride, and we do. But the good thing with, like, years ago, what we used to do was to stop feuds and fighting like that. If two guys had a problem with each other, they'd box bare knuckle, and they'd have a fair play man. And whoever won or lost, they'd shake hands, and then the families would forget about it, and that'll be the arguments all squashed. But unfortunately now, it's leading to more. It's causing more problems than what it is solving, unfortunately, these days. And the old travel way of fighting has kind of gone out the window.
Mm. Well, you know, Tyson Fury actually doesn't hold any of boxing's 4 main championship belts at the moment. As we've heard, he had to give them up because of his mental ill health. But since he's never been defeated, he still claims to be the true champ, also known as the lineal champion. Here's what I mean. Britain has its kings and queens, Japan its imperial family, Turkey its sultans. And boxing, well, it has its own royal family. A line that begins with John L. Sullivan, the first heavyweight champion as we know it. Tyson Fury claims to be his direct descendant, the lineal champion, the man who beat the man who beat the man, all the way back to Mr. Sullivan himself. But it's not that simple. From Sullivan in 1882 until 1905, it was a continuous and perfect chain. But when James J. Jeffries retired undefeated, the line was broken.
A successor was found when the two top contenders slugged it out. Later that year, Marvin Hart became the new King of the Ring. The next break in the chain came in 1928, when Gene Tunney retired, having defended his title only twice. As with the previous break, the top two contenders fought, and the German Max Schmeling became the new champ. The third break came 28 years later, when Rocky Marciano retired in 1956, still the only heavyweight champion ever to quit the sport undefeated. The next best two went toe-to-toe, and Floyd Patterson took the title. We then have to wait to Muhammad Ali for the next break, stripped of his boxing license and title after refusing to fight in the Vietnam War. Joe Frazier succeeded him, Foreman beat Frazier, Ali beat Foreman to reclaim the title. It was a golden era, but during the 1980s it became harder and harder to identify the lineal champ. Too many kings wearing too many belts at the same time. The last undisputed champ was Lennox Lewis. When he retired, the chain was broken again. For years, various men scrapped over various belts until Vladimir Klitschko proved so dominant that he became recognized as the lineal champion. Tyson Fury took the crown from him in 2016, but lost his title months later when he quit boxing. He lost all his belts, but in the eyes of the fans, he was still the lineal champion.
And not just his fans. We caught up with the legendary boxing referee, Joe Cortez. He adjudicated bouts with some of the 20th century's biggest names, including George Foreman, Roberto Duran, Evander Holyfield, and the title clash between Oscar de la Hoya and Julio Cesar Chavez. Well, we called him up at his home in Las Vegas. He was poolside, and here's what he had to say about Tyson Fury.
He's coming up the ranks real quick, and pretty soon he'll be one of the top 10. And one day he wants to end up getting this ring right here. This is the ring that they want to get. That's a Hall of Fame ring, and that's a dream of every fighter. It was an honor being inducted into the Hall of Fame with Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sylvester Stallone. We all got inducted together the same day. He will get there, depending on the next couple of fights that he has.
Let's get into this lineal champion thing with Glen McCrory. Glen, lineal champion, does he have a right to claim that title?
He certainly does. You know, he went out to Germany and he pulled off a victory that nobody really expected him to do against Klitschko, who had been dominant in the game. So that was the lineal champion. That was seen as he was seen as the man to beat then. Unfortunately, he gave up his titles, or was stripped of his titles because of his problems outside of the ring. But I mean, the comeback that he's made in such rapid succession, when he got his mind right, when he started fighting against his depression, really proves what a champion he is. To make that comeback, that spectacular comeback, and then to go to America when people again thought he was up against it and would come out a loser against Deontay Wilder, and put on such a fantastic, brave performance. And really, a lot of good judges, myself included, had Tyson winning that fight. Although Deontay Wilder is still, a very, very dangerous man, and I think there's still unfinished business between the two top heavyweights in the world.
And Addy, what comes next?
It looks like there'll be a fight in September, October against an American called Charles Martin. International fans might remember Charles Martin. He was a former IBF heavyweight champion, lost that belt to Anthony Joshua. So that's probably the next fight. And then after that, fingers crossed, we get the Deontay Wilder rematch. That's the fight we want to see. The winner of that will definitely be crowned the Ring Magazine #1 pound-for-pound heavyweight in the world. So let's see if they can get that fight on maybe March or April. But obviously there is Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua in there as well. So there's a lot of options out there for Tyson Fury. And I think it's just great to see him back in the mix. I mean, I think, like Glenn said, he is the best heavyweight on the planet, the #1, the lineal champ. So I'm just happy to see him doing what he does best.
And what's interesting is that everyone on this panel believes he is the #1 boxer, heavyweight boxer in the world. Did you know, though, one of the issues that boxers face is keeping their motivation for the intense training that the sport demands. Fury himself talked about this on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I knew. I said to me dad and my brothers before the fight, a week before the fight, I said, win, lose or draw, I said, this is probably going to be my last fight. Because I knew the fire was going. I didn't have that hunger anymore. I had the hunger to beat Vladimir Klitschko, but not to carry on and continue.
Glenn, you know, you've been a very successful boxer. You're training boxers. You know all about the mind games that are required. It's not just about the working out, it's the working out up in the head too.
To be honest, I think that's probably the most important part of it, because you think mental strength, that is key in boxing. So when that takes a battering, you know, so that can be a good thing or a bad thing when weaknesses start to come in. But if you can keep a fighter mentally strong, if you can keep him confident, if you can keep his eye on the game, then you know he's going to be a formidable fighter. But it's when different things in life is tough, and we all get challenges, and when that starts to come in a boxer's head, it's amazing how that can affect them.
Now that Tyson Fury has been through his personal hell, which lasted, you know, nearly 2 years, he doesn't look like he's, you know, God willing, ever going to go back to those dark days.
I think doing what he's doing, you know, he's done everything in the game. He is the lineal champion. He is world #1. So he's succeeded in what he set out to do as a young boy when he first laid the gloves on. Now he's realized, you know, success and what he's doing and going around talking about mental health, that's what keeps him focused. That's what keeps him strong. That's what keeps him, you know, as he is. And I was with him last weekend. He was doing a talk at the Dillian White fight. We were talking to some guests there. And, you know, he looked in the condition of his life. He'd been running that morning. He'd been training really hard that day. He hasn't got a fight posted in for a long time. But he looked the best physically and talked the best mentally he ever has. And I think it's going around now, being a campaigner, you know, showing that drive and light for people with mental health issues and showing them, you know, what they can achieve and how they can pick themselves up. I think that's, you know, that's the force that keeps him going in boxing. That's his motivation.
You know, we focused on Tyson Fury, but this is a big sport and there are thousands of boxers trying to make it out there. And we recently caught up with a young Turkish fighter based in London. We went to his gym, actually. He gave us a few lessons in sparring. You know, he'd given up his life with his family in Turkey to pursue his dream of becoming a world champion. And he was preparing for the biggest fight of his life. How did he do? Well, let's take a look.
Başarılı olmak için kendini vermen lazım, çalışman lazım, motivasyon olman lazım. Hani kendini adapte etmen lazım. Dünya şampiyonu olmak istiyorum, Avrupa şampiyonu olmak istiyorum. Bu maç için antrenman kampına 2 ay önce girdim. Önümdeki maçı kazanıp bundan sonra daha büyük maçlara gitmek istiyorum. Avrupa Dünya Şampiyonu gibi. Bu maç onun için benim için çok önemli. Boksa Türkiye'de başladım 13 yaşında. Londra'ya 6 sene önce geldim. Türkiye'yi özlüyorum tabii, ailemi, arkadaşlarımı. Ama burada kalmam için benim boksum yetiyor. Rakibim de Türk asıllı, ismi Anton İlgir. Bir de ilgi duyacağım bir maç çünkü ilk defa 2 Türk karşı karşıya geliyor profesyonel arenada. Bu benim için bir motivasyon oldu tamamen. Kolay bir maç olmayacak, bunun farkındayım ama ben bunun için yeterince hazırlandım. Onun için kazanacağıma inanıyorum. Maç güzel maçtı. Çok kapalı maç geçti. Yarı yarıyaydı. Hani birimizden biri kazanacaktı. İşte kapalı maçta ona verdiler. İkimiz de hakkını verdik ama maçın. İkimiz de sonuna kadar çalıştık. Bu sefer olmadı ama ben durmayacağım. Bir hafta dinlenip ondan sonra maçımı izleyip tekrardan daha iyi bir şekilde antrenmana devam edeceğim. Eksiklerimi göreceğim. Daha da çalışacağım. Daha da çalışacağım. Ta ki dünya şampiyonu kadar. Benim bir hedefim var. Onu olana kadar durmayacağım.
Well, he shouldn't be discouraged, as everyone on this panel and Tyson Fury himself would admit. You just got to keep going through the dark times. We also have a last message from Joe Cortez, who used to be a fighter himself back in the day.
I would say to him, it reminds me of me when I was coming up as a professional fighter. I lost, I think it was my 5th pro fight, but it was a learning experience. and it just give me more confidence. You know, I made some mistakes here. I went back to the drawing board, and I came back better. Another good example of somebody who is very well recognized around the world is Canelo Alvarez. When he lost to Floyd Mayweather, it was a defeat for him. But you know what? I think he learned a lot more from that fight than had he won. He really took it serious. He said, wait a minute, I'm beatable. People can beat me out there. Let me not take this too lightly. I want to try to do better. This Turkish fighter, no big deal. It's just a learning experience.
There you go. It's just a learning experience like most of life. Well, thank you to all our panel. Really appreciate your contributions here on The Nexus. And thank you for watching. Also, remember you can see this and all our previous episodes on our YouTube channel. But for now, goodbye and see you next week.